بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا، وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. أسأل الله تبارك وتعالى أن يجعل نياتنا خالصة لوجه الكريم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, let me do something our teachers used to do at the beginning of sessions to identify the students that were in the classes. So he would mention them and greet them individually by name. So as I see them, let me do a little bit of that. Wa alaikum salam, Malika Abdul Rahman. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Khadija. Wa alaikum salam, Brother Talib. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Karima. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Imari. Wa alaikum salam, Al-Raqiya. Wa alaikum salam, Rosalinda. Wa alaikum salam, Isla Muhammad. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Jacqueline. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Aqila. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Leslie. Wa alaikum salam, Ruki. Wa alaikum salam, Sister Najma. May Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala give you well-being and gentleness in all of your matters. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you comfort in every aspect of your life. Ameen. Brother Kenneth, wa alaikum salam. Queen Sauda, may Allah raise your rank and grant you a long life in obedience to Him. MashaAllah. Tayyib. So, as is my habit, every Wednesday morning, I do my recap and reflections on the Black Imams Roundtable. And I wanted to say before I do my recap that we are making, and we're in the process of refocusing the Black Imams Roundtable more on the side of education than entertainment. From our observation, we realized that we started out with a mission, and we've been on that mission, to be honest, of educating our community, our people, teaching them the knowledge of the religion, but in a way that was suitable for how they receive information or how we receive information. But what we notice is that the whole concept of what we were doing started to go, I believe, a little left. And it became something in addition. Oh, silky, silky. All right. All right, let me get a little entertainment. I accept. Ahlan wa sahlan, whenever you're ready. And uh that was for Sheikh Noor. I love that guy. You don't know how much I love that. He knows I love him so much. Uh uh Subhanallah, I do. He, mashallah, may Allah reward him and raise his rank. Okay. I'm sidetracked. Though I can be critical sometimes, even of myself. If y'all think I'm critical with others, you should see what I do to myself. Subhanallah. Uh, yeah, man. I don't like to lose. So y'all watching the Olympics, right? And you know everybody's competitive. I'm like that in life. I don't like to lose at all. I'm not saying I'm a sore loser, but I get pretty sore when I lose. I don't like to lose at all. Oh my goodness. Okay. So when I see us winning, it makes me happy. And when I see us losing or doing things that's going to make it lose, I'll fight. And I don't care how many people are standing against me. I will fight. That's just me. I can't help myself. I'll go to quickly before I get back, but just quickly. Prison stories from the cell, right? So I was in a place, it's called FCI Raybrook, federal institution, upstate New York. And it was a weird combination in that place when I got there, right? It was, imagine this environment. You got a Shiite imam and Wahhabi administration with some Sunni brothers who's scared to speak out because they don't want all the drama that comes and they're outnumbered. That's the environment. You got a Shiite imam who's hiding his Shiism. He's Shiite, but he's hiding it. Like, you know, he got specific people he's telling, but he's a Shiite. He's over the Wahhabi people. Most of them are Wahhabi. You got a few Ahl Sunnah people, but they nervous because the environment, right? And they're outnumbered. So I come to this place and I immediately see what's going on. And I'm young. So immediately, and when I say I'm young, and this is advice to young people, don't be so fast. Younger people don't think a lot of times. We just do, right? When you're young. As you get older, you start thinking about consequences and the end result, which you're trying to accomplish. But when you're young, you only see what's in front of you, not what's going to come out of it. Uh, so I'm watching what they're teaching. I'm like, this stuff is a mess. And so it was my first time really confronting Shiite people like that were really, you know, Shiites usually, they're not in charge or they're not really influential. This is the first time I ever saw a Shiite person doing their stuff. But I had this strong disdain for Wahhabis. So I immediately went at the Wahhabi people, right? And the Shiite guy was, hiding his stuff, and he was just seeing who's gonna win the fight. So when he saw that we started, really laying it heavy on the Wahhabis, he came to us and used some of the Shiite things that are similar to Ahl Sunnah to try to become close. Uh, and I ain't had none of that. I was like, I don't want no allies. Everybody's Ahl Sunnah or war. that's how that go. So this stuff got real rough, got bad. And they put me in solitary confinement, saying I was interrupting the orderly running of the institution. So that was the charge they gave me, disrupting the orderly running of an institution. In other words, they're saying he's using the religious facilities department to take over the jail. That's how they get to, put you away without having a fair trial, right? They just say you're trying to take over the institution, and then they put you away. So anyway, they do that. So for like 6 months, I'm in solitary confinement with really no official charge, just, on hold. And the deputy warden or associate warden, he comes to me and he says, I don't know why you think everywhere you go, you must be in charge of the Muslims everywhere you go. I said, I'm not interested in being in charge of no one. I just want to teach the truth. And so he says, okay, well, we're going to put you somewhere where you don't got to worry about this nobody. And I remember him saying after that, go back and forth, he said, why you can't be like every other inmate and just come do your time and go home? And I looked at him and I said, because this is what I do. And I can imagine this older man looking at this young guy, this guy's crazy. I said to him, this is what I do. In my mind, I stand for the truth, no matter what's the consequence, right? And to me, to let misguided beliefs be spread among the Muslims, to me, that was losing. And I don't like to lose. So whatever it takes to spread the truth, which was Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah winning, that's what I'm going to do, no matter what's the consequence. And I paid a dear price for that, right? But when I look back on it, I would do it again. I just wouldn't do it the same way. I wouldn't do anything different. I would just do it differently. But the same things I would do. Because many people learned, and some of the brothers that on this platform now, they were with me. They remember those days, right? So I say that to say, even though sometimes it may seem a little rough, it is really with a good spirit that we, as the people of truth, are victorious. And the Prophet ﷺ said that there always will be a group among the believers who are victorious upon the truth, right? They are victorious, always. Why can't we be among them? MashaAllah, be of the people of Ahl Sunnah and be of those who that are at-ta'ifatu mansura, that victorious, aided group, right? Why not? All right, that was my long story from the cell, right? So the point I was making with that is even when you see us mixing it up, it is really, really with a good intention. It is really, really a good intention. honestly. And unfortunately, sometimes because of the way it comes off, people forget the good intention. Sometimes. Because sometimes it can come off, depending the circumstances, kind of rough. But it's really all with a good intention. So that we learn our religion properly and uh, uh, we're not losers on the day of judgment, inshallah. All right, back to the Imam's roundtable. Sorry for this slight departure, but Sheikh Noah made me think of some things. Um, so we wanted to get into education more, like we started. Entertainment is nice, having fun, talking, but actually, we have to learn our deen well. And when you think of it on a grand scale, as a people, we actually have to build our own Islamic institutions that are specifically designed for our circumstances and context as a people. The situations we actually deal with, we have to have institutions and scholars and teachers who understand that dynamic and know how to properly apply the religious rules to it. That's an ultimate objective for us, right? And when I say ultimate objective, even if we don't live to see it, that we help build it. And that entails us, the first line of defense, which means we actually have to know what we're doing. No one said we have to be scholars. And everything we're talking about, even if some of it has a scholarly overtone, it is necessary for every single Muslim to understand in order for them to practice Islam correctly. Let me ask you a question. This is a serious question, and I want you to answer. Honestly, do you believe it's a correct way to practice Islam and there is a wrong way? Do you believe that there is a correct way to practice Islam and there is a wrong way? Do you honestly believe that? That's a question. Please answer, engage. Y'all know how I'm looking for your answers. Seriously, this is not a trick question. It's a real question. Even you who I see you, but you act like I don't see you. You, especially you, answer. Even if you my opponent, answer. Even if you think you right, answer the question. Since that's the case, the majority of us believe there is a correct way. And they believe there is a wrong way. I'm not talking about someone's intentions, because we should have good thoughts of everyone that they intend to do the right thing, even if they're doing the wrong thing. I'm not talking about your intention. I'm talking about what you're actually doing. You follow what I mean? As I was making the case, my intention was to spread Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. The way I was going about it wasn't the best way. I could say that, right? I had a good intention, but the way you're going about it, bro, that's not the smartest way to go about that, right? So I'm not talking about your intention. I'm talking about reality, right? There is truth, there is falsehood. There's a correct way and there's a wrong way. Our job is to figure out that correct way. to the best of our ability. That's our job. We are morally obligated to find the correct way to practice this deen. We have to. Even if the correct way has different aspects of correctness, but it's still the correct way. And even if the wrong way has some aspects of truthfulness and correctness, it's still the wrong way. Our job is to figure that out. And that's what we have to teach our communities to do, how to figure out that way. And that's a human endeavor, which sometimes may be mistaken. It's an endeavor that sometimes you're going to be mistaken in doing that. It's real. But as the Prophet ﷺ said, which we mentioned last night, may yuridillahu bihi khayra yufaqihu fid din. Whomever Allah wills good for, he'll give them the understanding of the deen, the understanding of the religion. So you're going to make your human effort, but ultimately it's going to be according to the will of Allah if you're going to be guided. That's Allah's affair. We cannot do anything about that. From our side, it's the effort. It's the intention and the effort. The outcome is Allah's matter. We cannot do anything about that. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala eternally willed that we're going to be guided, he's going to give us the correct knowledge. And if he eternally willed that we would not be guided, we're not going to be guided. That's it. Allah guides whom he wills, and he causes to go astray whomever he wills. That's his affair. And as my teacher always say, worry about your business, don't worry about Allah's business. You cannot do nothing about that. You only can do about what's in your capacity to acquire of the deeds. So for that reason, the round table objective is to teach us the religion. And in the process of doing that, we're going to have to do some correcting. We're going to have to do some explaining. We're going to have to do some clarifying. That's necessary, especially when collectively, as a community, we really don't know. Collectively, I'm not talking about individuals. Let me ask another question, because one day I hope they make a platform where it's like, I get like this. I like this platform, but I guess Zoom does it, but Zoom, I don't know. I'm not a really big Zoom fan for some odd reason. I don't like it. Where we could actually have video and where we could actually talk to each other. It would be nice. But in the same kind of context, I don't know. That maybe that's an idea for the developers to do. I don't know what that would take. So I want to ask you a question. What do you think that I mean when I say collectively we don't know our deen? What do you think I mean by that? I'm interested in your thoughts. When you hear me say that, collectively, not individually, collectively we don't know our deen, our religion of Islam, collectively. What do I mean by that? What do you understand from that? I just want to hear your comments. You can type. You don't got to be long, but when I say we collectively don't understand our deen, what do you think I mean by that? What are you understanding from that? Okay, true. Hmm. Okay. All similar comments. I like that. Not enough of us know the foundational or the foundations of the deen clearly enough. I like that. Right. Okay. Good. And when I say that, all of us are included at different levels. The sign of that for us is that we don't have a collective, established, well-known body of scholarly resources from our own people, which that's the biggest indication. We don't have a collective body of scholarly resources from our own people. That's a fact. And that's the biggest sign that collectively we don't know our deen. That's one of the biggest signs. Because if you don't have that scholarly, academic group that is a resource for you, that means you have to refer to other people. And hence, you're going to be subject to what they give you. You don't have the ability on your own to sort out the matters. And we need that. Do y'all follow that? The Black Imam Roundtable is very interested in helping us lay the foundations to make us aware that we need to develop that. This is extremely important. And I have this discussion even with some of the more learned people of our community, right? This is extremely important. To get it started, what is those foundational things? And that's why we concentrate on them so much. They are the primary sciences of the religion, which are mentioned in the Hadith of Jibril. Ilm al-Tawheed, Ilm al-Fiqh, and Ilm al-Tasawwuf as foundational things. We need to know what is the correct belief as a foundational point. We need to know the practical rules of the religion as a foundational point. And we need to know the aspect of Islamic spirituality at a foundational level. And then the secondary issues we need to add to that. That needs to be understood in our community, right? And then there needs to be a standard of what is proper education and learning and what is not. We need to develop a standard. Even if we don't fit in the standard, it still needs to be established. We should not say because we don't fit in the standard, don't have a standard. Do y'all follow what I mean? Because I don't fit, I don't meet the criteria, so don't have one. No, just do whatever we want so I can fit in. No, you need to raise your level. Or you need to help the one who has the ability to raise his level. It don't have to be you. It don't have to be me. Do you follow what I mean? But it must exist. And look at it this way for us. Go back to our history. A lot of our great-great-grandfathers and grandmothers, they weren't educated, many of them. but they worked hard so that succeeding generations would be educated. I'm talking about in the worldly secular sciences, right? Maybe your great great grandfather couldn't read, but he was bent on making sure that his children and great and grandchildren and great grandchildren would be readers. Some of them, they didn't go to school, but they wanted some to be graduates. That's how we got to think in religion, right? In the deen, we got to think like that. So, for instance, when I see Sheikh Noor, I remember when Sheikh Noor couldn't do the things he's able to do now. And I remember watching him, and I'd be like, don't do that. You can do better than that. Forget all that stuff. Do this. And now I watch him, look where he's at, and then you look at his children, right? You see it. That okay, we're not going to be, we still in the hood with all this stuff, right? But you don't have to be. And your children can develop and be better. And we got to want that for each other and facilitate it. And the whole time he was on that journey, we were trying to facilitate to our capacity to reach that reality, right? But at the same time they're doing that, we have work here that we're doing. And collectively, when that all comes together, we'll actually one day see that. Even if we're not alive when it happens. This is extremely important. And this is one of the reasons why we're so firm in making sure we stay on that path. It's extremely important. We need to become like other nations. Other nations benefit from other nations. While they're building their nation, they may have relationships. They send people to school, into other countries. They gather the information. They come back. They have their think tanks, and they build their society themselves. Look at every nation does that. You know, they send their students to foreign nations to learn, to bring back some information they don't have in their given environment or their country. That person comes back, they become teachers, they supply, they build, until actually they function as a strong, independent nation. And sometimes they become the resource above the ones whom they learned it from, like the Chinese, right? In some issues, right? You see all those kids, some of them went to Western schools, but they went back to China, they refined their skills, and now those Western nations are depending on them. We got to start thinking like that with our deen. And that's extremely important. But to have that collective mindset, we have to have a collective understanding. And when I look at the round table in its own way, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish the correct way to practice Islam, which we believe is the methodology of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah, and what that looks like. And there's been this concept with us. Leave it to the scholars. You know what that means? I'm gonna tell you. When someone says leave it to the scholars, let me tell you what that means to me. This is how I interpret that when I look at reality. When you're saying leave it to the scholars, with that, what is understood from that is that there are no scholars among us. Listen to my point. You say leave it to the scholars, that means what you're really saying, and you intend there are no scholars among us. So that means we're going to always import information from somewhere else, right? And therefore, you always going to be in a servant position. No one in the world does that except us as a norm. No nation of people do that except particularly as a general rule, us. We're the only ones who do that. And that's why for the length of our Islam, there's always been someone else who does not deal with our reality, dictating on us how to deal with our reality from the side of religion. And they've taught us that you're not capable, and I never make you capable. You're not capable, and I'm never going to make you capable. And you know how I know that's true? Because a scholar told me that. And he demanded of me to do it yourself. And I think my time with Sheikh Samir, if I never appreciate, I mean, there are many things that I appreciate for him, but one of them was he said something one day to me individually, then he said it to the group of students we were giving. And I never forget it. It was so like, I was like, man, that's deep. He said, you have to learn how to solve your own problems. I don't have your problems. He was talking about us as a people, but he was talking to me as a student and teacher. He said, you got to figure that out. I can't do that. I don't have those problems. They're not my concern. You have to figure that out. I can help you, but you have to figure it out. And then he gave me a project to research. And I tried to do it the easy way. And he said, don't do that. He said, read the entire book. I was like, Sheikh, I got the answer, right? He said, no, go read the entire book. He said, because when you read the entire book, you're not only going to get the point that you were looking for, you're going to understand other things that are necessary for you to understand that point. But if you skip all the book and you only get the point you're looking for, that's all you will understand, and you'll never be able to solve your problems. And I as he say, I highly appreciated that. And I made it a habit for myself. Now do the work so you can solve your problems. It was so powerful. And he admitted what I have to do from our side and what he has to do from their side. I can help you. You have to do the work. Then one time we were having a group discussion, the students, and I happened to be the only African American in the room. And he told the other students, he said, none of you have to deal with what Amin has to deal with. His people, his community is totally different from everything you're talking about. So until you understand what he goes through in his communities, among his people, don't talk about him. Don't even raise your voice, because it's a whole different world, which means he understood. And he would constantly push that we learned enough to do our own work. And I appreciate, to this day, and he gave us all the tools to do it. You still got to do the work, but here's all the tools to do what you need to do. And it's a lifelong lesson to do that work. Here's the tools. Here's the references. Here's the resources. Here's everything you need to do to fix your situation. And he did not spare anything. Like, I need you to do this work. And for us, we have all the tools we need to fix our situation, but we have to really have a strong desire to fix our situation. So in all those sciences, we got to lay down foundations, right? And the first foundation is to know the correct understanding of the deen. Knowledge. Knowledge is power. Knowledge, access, implementation. Those three things. We need knowledge, then we need access, then we need to implement. So this series that we're going over on the round table is about that. So we need more of the education, more of the sciences at the basic level, right? And we need to get serious about that, right? Don't be slogan people. Can we all put that up? Don't be slogan people. Can we copy that? Can we all copy and put that up? We've been doing that for far too long. Be people of understanding. Don't suffice yourself with the slogan, I'm on Quran and Sunnah. 3453. I'm in the group. Yeah, but you don't understand anything. Right? Like, this don't work. Don't be slogan people. Seriously. Actually learn. It's important. And if you don't get anything from our platforms, except is what we need to do to learn. And that's what we're concentrating in this series on the Black Imams Roundtable. So this issue of al-fiqh, for instance, we talked about Aqidah, and we're not finished. We just touched on it, right? And then that is going to break out into actually lessons, right? And ultimately, we need to move that to locations in every place where we are at, right? It needs to be on the ground in every place, even if there's, and that's why we have to support, because it's going to involve travel, it's going to involve hotels and staying and moving, and somebody has to be dedicated to da'wah among us. And it's our collective job to facilitate that, right? We have to educate ourselves. So that means we have to do the work. It's not, and it's an expense to that. All right, with that, that was just my reflections on it. I have a lot, but I want to get that point across, what we're actually doing and what we intend to do, so that we actually do it. Because we're nowhere near where we need to be, right? We still at the stage of talking, but not really working. But sometimes the talking will wake us up. But we actually need to be working. We're motivating ourselves to begin to work. We're not at the work stage yet, right? And that is because we're too busy thinking as individuals, not as a people. We have to start thinking as a people, not as individuals. We have to facilitate the Fard Kifaya among us, the communal obligation, that we need to find one among us, two among us, three among us who have the ability, and we have to support them. Right? And maybe, I'm telling you, sometimes I watch the condition and I get so disappointed. Like you watching the fight and you're like, this guy, all we got to do is throw a body shot, an uppercut, and an overhand. It's over. But we refuse to throw the body shot. We throwing wild punches. Just hit him in the body. A good body shot. Bang. Then uppercut. Bam. Then an overhand. Bam. It's over. But we won't put that combination together. It's that easy. And you watching the whole fight, there's opportunities. They put that combination together. Lights out. That's us in the fight for understanding our deen. And we got to overcome that to learn to put that combination together. And we have to love each other enough to do it. We got to love each other enough to do it. I was talking to an imam the other day, a big imam among the African American communities. And outwardly, they seem successful. And I was talking to him, and without me saying it, he said all these things to me, right? And I can hear in his voice the frustration. Like, if I could just get us to listen and follow, we could do miracles. He said, but our problem is we don't want to follow at all. We don't want to follow. Because following really entails work, and we really don't want to work. We've become collectively lazy. Collectively lazy. I don't want to do the work. So I just don't follow, so I don't have to do the work. Let me not follow, I don't have to do anything. Because if I have to follow, that means I have to work. And I have to sacrifice. And I have to be accountable. And I don't want to do all that. My nafs don't want to do that. And it's reflective in the end result. So we have to motivate ourselves beyond that. No. I disagree. We don't even have no chiefs. We won't allow us to have chiefs. You know that saying you said, too many chiefs, not enough Indians? Nah, we won't even allow ourselves to have any chiefs. We won't even allow ourselves to have a chief. The ones who acting like they chiefs are all Indians, and they won't allow a chief, even when they really know they're an Indian. I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example for you to think about this. If we had leaders, Sunni leaders, I'm talking about in our community, you're a chief, you're a boss, you know what you're doing. If that's the case, and I told one of these inspiring students this, I said, go start your own masjid right down the street. He looked at me like I was crazy. I said, seriously, go down the street and start your, matter of fact, I'll help you start. I'll give you the startup money to go build your own masjid. He looked at me and he ain't go do it. You know why? Because he wasn't a real chief. But he wanted to be a chief and a leader under another leader. So you really don't want to do the work. You want someone else to do the work and you take the credit. You don't want to carry no rocks. You don't want to carry no bricks. You just want someone else to do it and you get the light from it. Now you do it. Right? And if you ain't doing it, that means you need to be following. And I think sometimes we don't catch it. I catch that stuff. You so smart. Why we ain't got it? Why it ain't happening? Because if you a chief, that means you can build. You can do it. You can spread it. Then do it, chief. Get busy. But the reality, we not chiefs. You an Indian. In that saying. So be an Indian. And the Indian listen to the chief. Because you not no chief. You an Indian. And some of us got a real, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm an Indian, I'm gonna follow the chief. No problem. And we should think about that. And there's nothing wrong with helping the chief, because ultimately you're going to benefit. Because if it was really enough chiefs, we have a lot more done. If you're really a chief. But if you're not, you're just talking. Sounds great. And every chief knows what it takes to be a chief. Every chief knows what it takes to be a chief. So with that, I say everyone play their role. First, identify your role. You may be a chief, right? You may be a chief. And if that's your role, please do it with excellence to the best of your ability. And if you are a follower, then be a good follower. That's it. No problem. Right? And that's something I really encourage us to figure it out. We collectively need to know our positions. If you're not a running back, don't get in the backfield. You may be a block. You may be on the line and block. Do that well, block. Don't try to be quarterback. If your position is wide receiver, do that. Everyone got a role in this. But know your role and do it well, because it's needed for us to win. And this is my hope for us collectively. MashaAllah. I'm sorry, these thoughts are just what goes to my mind, and I'm trying to make it practical so we get it, so we can actually do the work. Stop making excuses for why we failing. Let's just do better and actually do it. Keep giving me excuse why you lagging behind. I don't want to hear your excuses. I want some production out of us, including myself. And I mean it for myself the most. Nah, we got to work. It's a crime for us not to work and leave the next generation with the same problems. We can't do that. We can't do that. MashaAllah. May Allah make it easy for us. Tayyib, barakallahu bikum. We got some good news. Inshallah, we're going to have some additional lessons coming up. Sheikh Noor has volunteered to actually do some teaching, so we're going to work on that. I'm going to call him for that, because I think we have some. When we start using our resources collectively, we're going to get a lot done, right? We're going to get a lot done. So I look forward. Sheikh Noor, are you still there or you left? I don't know if he's still there. I have this idea that we stick together. We're getting ready to add some other imams to the discussion on the round table. You need more imams to look at who can work together. So we're going to be bringing different imams that have a common thought, to join us. You need to see our potential. We have a lot of potential. But we got to have those men talks in the back first, right? Those men talks, real men talks. So that when we go out front, it's not fake. We real. So you got to have the man talking backstage. When you come see a show, it's all nice, but backstage it'd be a lot of stuff going on. Sometimes fights, sometimes all kinds of stuff be happening behind the stage. Then when they go out, they got all that over and they go do the show and they give a good performance, right? We have to learn to do that. We got to have them behind the stage fights, right? And then we got to go out and do the job, right? All right, may Allah reward you all. These were my reflections on last night's Black Imams Roundtable. Look forward. We got some good things. Oh, one of them is I'm going to be doing one-on-one discussions with those teachers, one-on-one, right, as well. So that's another project we're working on. And I'm probably going to do them in the morning because it's easier for people to free themselves. But I'm going to make it broad, not just our community, but other communities where we have real talks. Because we want to talk about the collective as well. Tayyib, barakallahu bikum, may Allah reward you all. I pray that what we said of some benefit, you find some benefit in it. That which is beneficial, take. That which is not beneficial, leave it. Don't worry about it. And ask Allah to increase us in beneficial things. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Barakallahu fikum wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.